Today we will tackle about modern CPU architecture. What is CPU? CPU is a short for Central Processing Unit. It is known as a processor or microprocessor. It's one of the most important pieces of hardware in any digital computing system. In 1823, Jöns Jacob Berzelius discovered silicon, which today is the basic component of processors. In 1947, John Bardeen, Walter Brattain, and William Shockley invented the first transistor at the Bell Laboratories on December 23, 1947. The first working integrated circuit was developed by Robert Noyce of Fairchild Semiconductor and Jack Kilby of Texas Instruments. The first IC was demonstrated on September 12, 1958. And on April 19, 1965, Gordon Moore made an observation about integrated circuits that became known as Moore's Law. Intel, with the help of Ted Hoff, introduced the world's first microprocessor, the Intel 4004, on November 15, 1971. It has 2,300 transistors, performs 60,000 operations per second, addresses 640 bytes of memory, and costs $200. Inside the CPU, there is thousands of microscopic transistors, which are tiny switches that control the flow of electricity through the integrated circuits. You'll find the CPU located on computer's motherboard. Often referred to as brain and heart of all digital systems, a CPU is responsible for doing all the work. It performs every single action a computer does and executes programs. What are computer programs and where are they stored? There is a program for everything a CPU does, whatever it may be. There is a program for all computer activities. Programs are a set of instructions that need to be executed in sequential logical order and followed precisely step by step. They are written in human readable language directly, so they need to be translated to a form that is easier understood. That form is called machine language or binary. Binary is a base 2 numerical system. It's comprised of only two numbers, 0 and 1. Programs are stored permanently and long-term in storage device, whether it's HDD or STD. While a program is up and running and currently being used, though all of its data is stored in the main primary memory or RAM, this type of memory is volatile and all data is lost when power shuts off. What does a CPU do? CPU is responsible for handling the processing of logical and mathematical operations and executes the instructions that is given. It first receives some type of input, typically from an input device, monitor, display screen, keyboard, etc., or from an application or system, web browser or operating system. Then, the CPU is in charge of 4 tasks: fetching, decoding, and storing. Fetching instructions from memory in order to know how to handle the input and know there's corresponding instructions for that particular input data received. Specifically, it looks for address corresponding instruction and forwards the request to the RAM. Decoding or translating the instructions into a form the CPU can understand, which is machine language. Executing and carrying out the given instruction, and storing the result of execution back to the memory for later retrieval and when requested. It's also called writing to memory. Finally, there is an output of some kind, such as printing something to the screen. The main parts of CPU: CU, ALU, and registers. CU. It regulates the flow of input and output. It's the part that fetches and retrieves the instruction from main memory and later decodes them. ALU, the part where the processing happens, here where all mathematical calculations take place, such as addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division, as well as all the logical operations for decision making, such as comparing data. Registers, an extremely fast memory location. The data and instructions that are currently being processed during the fetch-execute cycles are stored there for quick access by the processor. So that's all. Thanks for watching.